Did it send you anything?
Yes. And you can hear me, right?
Yep, I think we're
Okay.
ready to go.
All right, let's do this. Okay. Welcome, everyone. My name is Bridget Jarvis, and my partner, Julia Vera, will host a workshop for you today based on Jennifer Berger's book called Unlocking Leadership Mind Traps. In this workshop, we will talk about simple stories, which is one of the mind traps Berger explores in her book. We will also talk about how to escape this mind trap and offer useful tools to you. During this presentation, Julia and I are going to jump off camera for now, but we will rejoin you here shortly.
Thank you for the lovely introduction, Bridget. But before we go forward with defining anything else today, let's just take a pause and think if you can think of someone that you had decided was the problem and you decided really fast. Not sure if it could be somebody from yesterday, from a week ago, or from a year ago. Take about 5 seconds and think about that person. Who were they and why did you deem them as the problem? And while you're thinking, that person could have been a teammate who was difficult once, and now every disagreement reads as that's just the way they are, they're difficult. Or maybe it's a friend who canceled plans a few times with you, and you've decided that they just don't value your friendship. Or maybe it's a small response, a short response to your email, and you've decided that person must not like you. That snap judgment has a name, and we're going to name it for you today.
Jennifer Berger calls this fast judgment a simple story. She defines it as a tidy explanation our brain builds automatically, with a clear hero, usually us, and a clear villain, usually whoever disagrees with us, and a neat cause and effect. And once the story is built, we go looking for evidence that confirms it. There are three ingredients that create a simple story. First, a clean beginning, middle, and end. Our brains are wired to find patterns and connection, cause and effect, even when connection isn't really there. Second, fill in the gaps. We project the past forward into the future and backfill whatever's missing because it feels familiar and safe. Third, simple characters. Real, complicated people get flattened into heroes or villains, and then we only notice the evidence that fits the role we've already assigned to them.
So, how did we come to favor constructing simple stories? Here's a good example that can help us. Imagine an early human hearing a rustle in the grass. It's probably just wind, but the ones who assumed that rustle equals predator and reacted survived more often than the ones who shrugged it off. So we evolved to instantly build a beginning, middle, and an end, and to assume cause and effect, even if there isn't any. It's a survival and coping mechanism. The same wiring fires in our brains today, but it doesn't serve us well in complex situations of today's world.
Your brain isn't broken, its reflexes are just out of date. Simple stories evolved for a slower, smaller, and more predictable world. They're a shortcut for making fast decisions. That shortcut still helps in some situations, like sharing a vision, explaining a decision quickly, creating meaning, and aligning on a team on a clear idea. But the same shortcut hurts us when we use it to judge a person, a setback, or a decision, because that's exactly where the real, messier picture is hiding the better answer. It leads to false assumptions, it reduces our curiosity and our capacity for complex thinking and problem solving. And it hinders our relationships in the complex world.
Let's make it concrete. Simple stories show up everywhere. I'm sure you have heard some of these, if not all of these, a few times in your lifetime. For example, she's just not a team player. One pushback in one meeting becomes a permanent label, and every future disagreement gets filed as difficult instead of what might have a point. Or, we tried this before and it didn't work. One failed attempt, often under totally different conditions, becomes a permanent verdict, a generalization that closes off a whole category of future options without anyone asking what's actually changed. Finally, how about this one? If we just get through this difficult quarter, things will calm down. The current pressure gets treated as a temporary blip instead of a new normal. So no one builds the capacity to handle the next version of the same pressure.
Here's the reframe I want you to leave with this section. The neater an explanation feels, the more it's worth questioning. Treat simplicity itself as a warning sign. The moment something resolves a little too cleanly with no loose ends, that's exactly the moment to slow down and ask what it's leaving out. Because here's what we lose when we settle for the simple story. We lose alternative explanations and possibilities, the opportunity to be adaptable, better decision making and better solutions, connection and trust within relationships, and perspective and alternative interpretations. And that's quite a lot to lose. So, Julia, can we even really escape simple stories?
Well, Bridget, Jennifer Berger thinks we can. The solution to
Fantastic.
escaping the solutions to escaping these simple stories isn't avoiding them altogether. Rather, it's building the capacity to notice when the story feels a little too neat, and then treating that ease as the cue to dig further rather than a sign to stop. So the first tool that Jennifer Berger suggests is called flip the villain, and that's exactly what it means. Ask yourself, how is this person that you think is the villain can be a hero of their own story? It's easy, especially when you're frustrated, to cast someone as the villain. But just like you, they are the hero of their own version of events. Forgetting that is exactly what keeps the simple stories locked in place. Let's try it for now. Let's give you 60 seconds. Think of your villain from a real moment in your life, from yesterday, last week, or a year ago. Now write a sentence in their voice, imagining how they'd explain themselves to a friend who's on their side about the situation. Go. Okay, pens down. Hopefully you were able to come up with a quick example. And if you did, pause for a moment, read it again, and notice what that sentence made you consider.
Another tool is called Carry Three Stories. The goal is to avoid settling for the first explanation that clicks into place. Story A is your first story, the one that came automatically whenever you already believed. Story B is a structural story. What if no single person caused this? What if it's timing, process, or circumstances? And story C is a story where you're part of it. What would you have to admit about your own role for this to be true? You don't have to believe all three. You just have to hold all three before you act on any of them. To
So,
help with it, oh, sorry. Go ahead,
no,
Julia.
no,
We're both going to chat about
no,
it.
go for it. Go for it.
To help this stick, Julia and I have put together an Escaping Simple Stories worksheet, and it walks you through both tools and allows you to pause and write down your responses to both flip the villain and the three-story exercise. So I'm going to ask Julia to pick a real simple story scenario. We're both going to come back on camera. And her simple story scenario is going to be a real life event. So I think this is really fun because it really allows us to take something that is real for Julia, but also for you to be able to relate. And you can use the tool in the same way. So, Julia, take it away.
All right. Do you see my completed worksheet?
Yes.
Okay. So just like Bridget said, we've incorporated both tools into one worksheet. It includes the flip the villain and name the story questions. And you can use it at any point. You can use it daily, weekly, monthly, annually, whenever you think you might be encountering a simple story. And so the first step is to name the story. And here's what I wrote for my story. One of our executives leaders avoids eye contact with me. He has not greeted me in the hallways for weeks. He's clearly is not appreciative of me or my role for some unknown reason. He often questions numbers in my reports in group meetings and asks follow-up questions. He's often the only one who pays attention to my reports and asks questions. I can't figure out why he doesn't like me, but I remain calm and professional, and I triple check all my reports, data, and presentations because I know he'll question me. Because I don't know what causes him to behave this way, I'm confused, so I assume he just doesn't like me. The step 2 is to look back and then see what I'm assuming and what I'm missing, what missing pieces I'm adding to the story above. And here's what I wrote. I assume he's not greeting me and questions me in group meetings because he doesn't like me. Therefore, he's the villain. And this is the only thing that makes sense to me right now. So I have not had many interactions with him previously. I'm new to the team. The third step is where I flip the villain. And here's what I wrote. We have, which I think what he might be saying, the villain, in the story, and how he is the hero in his story. And here's what he might be saying. We have a new leader on our team who is enthusiastic and excited, me. She's friendly and eager to learn and wants to chat when I walk by. She's able to provide lots of data for an important project we're working on together. We have not had much data in the past. I like data and evidence-based decisions. Because this is a very important and visible project that is also very fluid, data is very useful, and I ask lots of questions about data and that she presents and recommend improvements if needed. I want to make sure that data is interpreted timely and in a meaningful way so the project is not jeopardized or delayed. So sounds pretty good. This wasn't easy to come up with, but I'm glad I did. So step 4 is where you're asked to carry the 3 stories that Bridget covered with us earlier. Story A is my story where he is the villain that I mentioned earlier. Story B is where I am considering if the difficulties may be caused by process, incentive, or timing, or some other outside force. And here's what I wrote. This is a very important project. The entire C-suite team is involved, and it affects company's relationship with its biggest client. There's lots of anxiety about this project, and no one wants to make mistakes. The timelines are compressed with promises that were made to the client that not all leaders agree with. There are intense disagreements and tensions. The individual that questions my data may want to ensure that it's accurate, understood, and presented to the client appropriately to avoid any miscommunications. He may also be looking at how to utilize the data to keep the project on track, communicate trends, and etc. I thought that was pretty good. And then the final story is the story C, where I consider what role I play in the situation. And here's what I said. I'm connecting his ignoring of me in a hallway with his questioning of my data. And I'm assuming he is as social as I am and would welcome quick chat in the hallway. I have not yet asked him directly how he prefers to communicate and if there's anything he wants me to adjust or report differently with my data. This wasn't easy, by the way, but I was able to put it together.
You know
The
what,
final,
Julia? Sorry, I just want to jump in real quick and say something. Something that I think is really powerful in this worksheet when you are flipping the villain and the villain has their own story and it's in their own voice. I think it just makes it, you can think about what they may be thinking, but when you're writing their story and you're thinking of it in their own voice, somehow it just makes it feel like such more of a real possibility. You know what I mean? So I just want to say that because I think as you're going through this and anyone that is, listening to learn about this, remembering that piece is really, I think is really important. So anyway,
exactly.
continue.
Yeah. No, exactly. And then it humanizes the villain, right?
Yes,
Suddenly, he's not such a bad villain after all.
absolutely. Yes.
Thank you, Bridget. So here's the last final step, right? Where we close, but it's not a conclusion. And that's where we start holding all three stories. Um, and here's what I said, because he does pay attention to my reports and makes evidence-based decision, wouldn't I want to continue to partner with him to ensure the project is success? And I thought it was so simple, but yet so revealing that I just didn't see that in the beginning because I tended to make a simple story, make him a villain, make it personal, where I think after I just took 10 minutes to do this worksheet, it really opened up my eyes to something more in the situation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Julia. This was fantastic. And I think for anyone to use this simple tool, even if you just save it on your desktop or just like have a printout or have something just in your desk during the workday, it's something where little things, simple stories, can cause a lot of angst and it gets in your head. And just like you said, if you're able to write out these scenarios, flip the villain, and really be able to use these three stories to think about other possibilities. It's just, I think, very helpful. So thank you for sharing that personal experience.
Sure, you're welcome. Can you see everything back online?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. So there are three things to remember with simple stories. One is we all do that. Simple stories are automatic, not a personal flaw. Two is flip the villain. Ask how the person you've cast as a villain might be the hero of their own story. Three, carry all three stories. Hold more than one explanation before you commit to acting on any one of them. Remember, the goal is to build the habit of noticing when the story feels a little too neat and treating that ease as your cue to dig further, not as a sign to stop.
All right. Reflection and next steps. So before we close this workshop, let's take just a moment to reflect on our learnings. So I'd like to invite you to think about what is one thing that stood out to you today. And then think about how will you use this work at home or at work, or use this learning at work or at home. And then finally, what's one small change you'll make this week? So maybe one small change is that you'll start using this worksheet, or maybe one small change is that you'll open your mind to possibilities of different scenarios and different stories rather than just settling on a simple story. And then we will leave you with this Jennifer Garvey Berger's own words, where she says, the point isn't to eliminate your simple stories. It's to notice them, believe in them a little less, and use the habit to multiply the options in front of you. In a complex world, a simple story is almost always wrong, and escaping the trap opens up a much richer set of choices. So we hope you found our workshop informative, and thank you for joining us today.
Yes, thank you very much. Have a great day, everyone.
Okay.